All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for Demon Slayer, Season 1, Episode 23. All right, well, we've got ourselves the Hashira all together. We've met them, and now I guess, Shinobu is not that bad, comparatively.
Comparatively, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, a bunch of other amongst a bunch of other killers. Well, she's just one of the pack.
And she's one of the pack, and in some ways she actually has a philosophy that is a little bit more logical, a little bit more pragmatic. And yet, with the other people here, they seem to be so completely disconnected from what was requested of them that they're going to do the equivalent of, you're not breaking the law currently. But we're going to make you. Mm-hmm. Because we're above the requests of the master here.
Yeah.
Lovely. This is a great way to make us get interested in Sanemi, at the very least.
But it is a very effective tool by making Sanemi the worst out of all of them and so awful and unlikable. It makes it so that, he draws our ire. Right, away from the others. So,
yeah, given that the other ones have very simplistic characterization at this point, where you have, Muichiro, you might not even know why he's here.
That's true.
Poor Mitsuri is basically, just kind of struck with the emotion of just seeing these two pretty boys very much in the same place, and then also just the sadness of that. This has to happen.
Right.
Kyojuro just or Kyojuro, he would just basically being like, well, I guess why don't we just kill her?
It's what has to happen.
Yeah.
So,
and then Gyu is just, when no one really likes me, does no one like me?
And that might be one of the most helpful things that Shinobu can do. Be another maybe voice of semi-reason, since no one will listen to Gyu. But...
Even though he would probably be the most helpful here. Yeah, I think that you're right. Shinobu, it would be very much her place to step in here, given that we know a little bit more about her philosophy. And Nezuko should fit underneath that let's be friends kind of mentality there. Because Tanjiro, he's too hurt to be able to do anything here. And in some ways, because of the autonomy that the master gives the Hashira here, he's not stepping in to stop them.
Right.
And at the very least now.
And Nezuko hopefully will be able to pull through this, but even if she does, is that really going to change their minds?
Well, if anything, I think it won't change their minds now, but it's something where they're going to have to see her react in such a way that surprises them to such an extent that they are willing to, at the very least, passively accept her. In the same way that in some ways, Iguro has. He's probably the one that, and in my opinion, had the most kind of, it is what it is, kind of mindset. So hopefully they can get to at very least that kind of passive aggressive aspect rather than something more
actively aggressive.
Yeah, exactly. So here we go. Stay safe, Nezuko.
Good luck.
Without further ado, y'all, let's get into this. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, and then come back here for the discussion. Okay, so we got basically the resolution to the Hashira's not being that cool with the Nezuko Tanjiro situation here.
Yeah.
But because of, in some ways, them giving Nezuko the space necessary to
be fully tested.
That led to actually Sanemi being completely, he wasn't petty at all.
He was speechless.
He was speechless. He was just I was so certain that it would go a certain way.
Yeah.
And because it didn't go that way, if anything, his lack of response gives me question of, wait.
It's a blank slate.
It's a blank slate.
Later, and I'm really curious to see what it is.
Right. Now, what I did like, what they showed, was that Shinobu was very much in care, and Gyu was as well, of Tanjiro. That she was like, hey, because of how you're being hit right now, you shouldn't try any breathing techniques now. That's a really bad idea, so don't do that. It didn't really stop him from doing it either way.
And he snapped the ropes, which was okay, yeah.
I mean,
he is
able to channel his
boy.
strength as well. You know, they're all Hamon users, so
basically.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I really liked that the Master did was that the way he sort of like spoke up right after Nezuko turned away.
Yes,
it made it come across that he was doing something active rather than passive in letting Sanemi test Nezuko. Because it's basically like, hey, yeah, you guys will want to test her, of course, so let's get that out of the way. Cool. Now you've seen that when put to the test, she can stick to her guns. She doesn't actually eat people. So now we can move forward.
Yeah. It's also cool in that we got to see the limitations of his blindness in that a lot of times when you see the badass master who has some kind of sensory impairment, they usually overcome it and it's not really a thing. But in this case, he didn't know exactly what Nezuko was doing, but his other senses were so attuned that just her going like that, he knew something had happened. So he was like, one of the twins, please tell me what just happened. And then the twin explains in great detail what exactly happened. So we basically get, for the purposes of what's going on here, a thing of, okay, Nezuko's underneath multiple levels of influence here.
Yes.
There's the aspect of what happened in the very beginning of the show, in that was unique.
Yeah.
That was the miracle. That was independent of the spell that was put on her.
Right.
That's important to keep in mind.
It was the first step, essentially, that made her believe that she could take another. In the same way that probably the thing that makes demons, like new demons, fully give themselves over to that demon side of them is the first step in the other direction. Their first kill.
Yeah. And because that didn't happen here, because in some ways Tanjiro, he took on that burden himself, and the whole themes of family were established there with the bond being real, and Gyu then being the first outsider to encounter that bond and see it for what it is, something special, a miracle in that essence there. This is what leads to them going to Urokodaki, and then Urokodaki helping Nezuko in this way there after the years of training that Tanjiro goes through. So because of this, we're in a situation now where Nezuko has both in tandem the desire to protect people, the desire to, be a human being, not just because of the spell, but because of the initial act that was done to save her when she had just become a demon. So that's all something that she keeps in her memory. That is something that is present in her mind in moments like this, where she even remembers back to her family and her parents and her mother speaking to her. Also,
that whole sequence was wonderful.
I can't just help it, but just gush about that scene, because they really make you see how similar the father and the mother are to Tanjiro and Nezuko in terms of look. But that aspect of them being older, maybe a little bit more tired, especially the father, and having this look of, we did it. Like, we made it through whatever life dealt us over the course of time, because you get the vibe from the father that he was someone that was either a demon slayer or someone that was a warrior, like a great threat to the demons.
On a very high level.
Right, on a level to where Muzan is the kind of person that just goes, oh no. So that's probably just something to keep in mind, is that Nezuko, while being a demon, being fully a demon, also carries that fully human aspect of the memories, the love, the compassion. So it's not just a desire because of the spell, but it is something based on her memories and past experiences.
And that's why it's so important for Tanjiro and her to help her go back to normal. Because the thing is that it's, on the one hand, it's helping her reclaim her humanity. But then on the other hand, she hasn't lost her humanity. Right. And now in the physical sense, in the literal sense, that needs to follow suit, right? Because there's a disconnect right now.
Yes.
And that's kind of one of the cool things that they were doing with the Hashiras, where they're humans, but they were, their behavior was like that of monsters, right?
Oh my god. Wait. We were talking about this before the discussion started, as we were going into kind of the end bits of the episode, about how the master was giving you demon vibes. But I was saying, well, yeah, but he's not a demon, probably. And but he does know Lady Tamayo. What if the reason why you were getting the vibes from that was that this was the one that Tamayo saved. No, wait. No, she hadn't ever succeeded in using this before. Right. But what if this was someone that nearly became a demon because he received a mortal wound to the head, basically.
Okay.
She healed him, saved him, basically. And that was one of her first acts as a traitor or something.
Yeah, whether it was like...
Or her allying in some ways with the Demon Slayers. Right. It's like, hey, I'm good. I'm with you guys. I can't be with you because some of you might just end up killing me one night, you know?
Right. I feel like
I'm a demon, you know?
Yeah, I feel like there might be certain details of that theory that needs to be honed as far as making it work within the context of the rules that have been established within the world. Yeah. But that's a great point. The whole connection with Tamayo, that's probably where I'm getting a lot of the demon vibes, because one of the things that given the fact that demons can't kill each other, right? But they can have disagreements with each other, right? Now, in the case of Rui with the other demons that were under him, he was able to just string them up and let the sun wait for the sun, right?
Because he's that much stronger.
Yeah. But what if you're not? But what if the difference isn't that big, or
there's just numbers,
or whatever, right?
So like Muzan has his 12 Kizuki, but what if every once in a while 3 of the Kizuki are like,
we don't really like
you, Muzan.
I could I went into way crazy theory territory where I was like, what if the demons actually had something to do with the origin of the Demon Slayers as an organization? Because it was basically, we need to have some other counterbalance, right?
You're saying that the demons are older than the Demon Slayers. Not like a little bit older, but like way older.
Potentially, yeah. Okay. Like of course, they have to be at least a little bit older because the Demon Slayers were made in response to the demons, right? Yeah. And it's a very natural thing to happen, so that makes sense that would exist. But even if they didn't have a part to play in the genesis directly of the Demon Slayers, I could definitely see something where demons would have an interest in the Demon Slayers. And this is something that I've mentioned, for a while, but that at some point, the show doesn't have to do this, but if they wanted to, they could bring up the idea that demons might want to use the Demon Slayers as a way to get vengeance or whatever on other demons that pissed them off.
Totally. And in some ways, that could be literally what Tamayo is doing. That she's basically like, no, Muzan can't continue to exist.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry, Muzan. Like, I've known you for, 100 years or something, but like, no, you can't. And in the case you can't live in this world forever.
Right. And in the case of Tamayo, she's a great lady, right? She's trying to actively, help people fight their demon, aspects, right? Yeah. But I could totally see there being demons that are like, no, I'm fine with being a demon, but you piss me off. I really hate you. Like, and I feel like Muzan, if there were people that had met Muzan and survived from ancient times, like correct, my mind just spaced even though I just said her name, but Tamayo, yes, thank you.
You're going full Yushiro mode. You're so in love with Tamayo right now, you're even forgetting what her name is.
No, but I could definitely see people getting pissed off at Muzan. And the question is would they survive after that, because Muzan's Muzan? But
in some ways I don't think that Muzan has as much direct influence over the demons in general.
Probably
it's
not.
More of like, well, he was in hiding apparently.
Exactly. So he stays to the shadows.
Yeah, but if you're in hiding too much, how do you give orders?
Right. How do you make new demons? Like,
well, no, we know how he makes new demons. He literally went to do that with
the
family.
He literally goes on trips, places. And,
I go on my business trips.
And
go and do my thing.
Right. Yeah, because you can't just be in hiding in one place and keep making demons. It's like, all the demons come from this place. Right. You think Muzan's here,
Right. In some ways, this is what's actually pretty, creepy about this, Michael Jackson looking, bastard here, is that, he probably has a real human job. He probably does a lot of human things.
He's a lawyer. No.
Yeah, he could actually be someone that does stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he's living a full-on double life to the point where the demons are like, hey, what about our glorious revolution and our, how are we going to defeat the humans? And he's like,
you'll figure something out.
Tut. There's no rush.
Yeah.
We're immortal. Calm down. Also, you're not even that strong anyway. Chill, bro.
And overthrow the humans. Why would we want to do that?
Why would we want to do that?
Let them multiply and be, everywhere. Then we can just take our pick.
Yeah. Have you seen that movie where the vampires actually win? Have you seen that movie actually?
No, but I know of it. And then it's supply and demand. It's like,
human blood becomes basically a very precious resource.
Yep.
What was it called? Because I really loved the movie. It wasn't a great movie, but it was the idea that you had all these products specifically so that vampires could go and walk around in the sunlight, without anything more than a sunburn.
And whatnot.
Well, yeah, it was basically super sunscreen, but it would end up in situations where you'd have the vampires just like foraging off, they'd have
rats
a party,
and things like
that. Yeah, and it was like, well, this is a real problem. There are very few pure humans left anymore.
Oh, like a bunch of like partial vampires and things like that.
Yeah. So you'd have these hybrids, and then you'd eventually get a lot of people where they would be basically the husks, the spawn of vampires that are infertile,
and then there'd be the farms for the wealthy.
Okay, so let's get back to Demon Slayer here, but. We ended up also getting a little bit of a quiet time moment with Inosuke and Zenitsu. Not as quiet volume-wise, because Zenitsu
helped with that.
But one of the things that they went into here is pretty permanent consequences for the whole encounter. One that I thought was rather cool for Zenitsu is that he's going to have to be diligent in taking his medicine. This is something that, there are lingering effects in there. While we might have taken care of 98% of the bacteria, the viral infection or what have you, the poison, you need to be careful, and so you don't end up losing like nerve endings or something on your arms.
And to make sure that your arms and legs grow back to their regular sizes.
Yeah, that's its own problem as well.
Yeah.
But then Inosuke, he not only had his throat and neck pretty crushed by the whole experience there, but it was all his yelling afterwards that actually was what made him lose his voice. So it was like, oh, he was crying out to basically try and help.
Sure.
And he was left alone.
Yeah.
Like, that's something where you're like, oh, buddy, you were,
Before, like, at the beginning, before Inosuke started talking, there was a part of me that thought that...
I know.
that it was someone else that he had trussed up and just sort of set the mask on.
You think he would give his mask away to anyone else? You're
if it was
crazy.
So that he could train without the hospital staff knowing he was gone, maybe. But
he would be dead before he'd let someone else have his boar boy mask. That was the one reason where I was like, no.
Yeah, but then he started talking, and it's like,
I'm like, I'm
like, okay, he lost his voice, but then it's. I'm weak. I can't do the things that I want to do. I was useless. I couldn't help.
Yeah.
And it's a very simple, straightforward motivation. But it works. Because if you think about it, for Inosuke, that's kind of all he's got. Or at least from his perspective, that's kind of all he's got, right? You see it every time that, like, when he would headbutt the trees and stuff because, damn it, I can't have, Tanjiro beat me as far as, the thickness of my skull, right?
Right.
But, yeah, if that's taken away from him, he really needs to build himself up from ground zero. Or not ground zero.
From the ground up.
Yeah, from the ground up. Yeah.
But I would say my favorite scene... outside of the scene with the flashback to the family, was Tanjiro basically having a little moment with Nezuko in the bedroom where he's really acknowledging, I'm going to grow old and I'm going to die.
Yep.
Even if I get strong, that's not going to be enough. Eventually, you'll be alone and I won't be here.
And I can't have that happen.
And I cannot live in a world where that is going to be the end of my life.
Yep.
This is something that I think is rather wonderful about the show, is that there are a lot of times where you get the vibe that the whole main goal of getting blood specifically from stronger demons and then sending it back to Tamayo via her little little animal like couriers. Yeah, thank you. It's like, oh, did we forget about that? It's like, no. Not a lot of time has passed because this was a very like intense combat situation on the mountain there.
Yeah, you can remember because like every time they talk about like, okay, now we need to rest, right? We need to recuperate. It's like, how many times have they done that over the course of the show? Like 3 or 4 times, right?
Right.
So it's like, they live pretty action-packed lives.
Right, exactly. So yeah, you need to get stronger, but you need to think about the future beyond you being a strong demon slayer, beyond you being a strong older brother.
Right.
And this is something that is important for the show, but it is important in terms of consequences with regards to Nezuko, even being in situations where she gets maybe really good and helpful with regards to, the Demon Slayer organization. Let's say the Demon Slayer Corps and what have you end up, having them go on a mission and they end up killing one of the 12 Kizuki. It's like, okay, that's wonderful.
Yep. What
if on some level it's something where maybe the master is someone that's cool with Tamayo and everything like that, but then they go on a mission with someone else? Let's take what was his name, Sanemi, for instance.
Yeah, that would
God forbid they actually have them go on their first mission with Sanemi. Let's have it be someone a little bit more neutral, like Muichiro or something like that. Maybe a little bit better. They go on their mission, they kill the 12 Kizuki. Tanjiro takes the blood in full view of them and everything, gives it to a demon magically created courier thing, and they're like, the what? What is that?
Yeah,
and it's like, this is approved. The master's okay with it. And like, yeah, master's not here. I need you to explain to me that.
Yeah.
And it just becomes a situation where it's like, oh, you're in league with a demon to test things that will help another demon.
Although now, technically, you don't need to tell him that Tamayo's a demon. You could just say, I know a researcher who's studying demons.
That's true. That's true. But then they would probably be like, who is it? We know all the demon researchers. It's just an awkward situation where maybe they can end up getting, more and more progress with regards to Nezuko's research or Tamayo's research for Nezuko. But this is something that is a hope. This is not a guarantee. This is something that Tanjiro is basing a lot of his decisions on, doing. If this doesn't work, or if just being in the Demon Slayers ends up pushing him more and more to just being a simple Demon Slayer and just killing a bunch of them, this isn't something that's guaranteed to work. And I fear a little bit that the Hashira are basically the in-between picture of what happens between you having a noble goal and you dying an old man.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of a journey there. I am interested in seeing how it goes. And I hope that at the very least, if they make it all about tracking down Muzan, that in some ways it becomes more complicated than just killing Muzan, killing him. It becomes something where it's like, well, Muzan might know some things. Muzan might not be the ultimate problem in this universe, basically.
Right, because since it hasn't been set up so far from a standpoint of can we beat Muzan? Right.
It's more just can we even find him?
Right, can we find him?
Yeah.
It's not necessarily going to be resolved with a battle. There will definitely be a battle, but that won't necessarily be the actual resolution of the conflict, right?
Because the main conflict is saving Nezuko.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's cool because up till now, like we knew that the main objective was get Nezuko better, right?
Yeah.
That was the objective of the show up till now, but I feel like this is also kind of like a Council of Elrond moment, where it's like, Frodo actually taking the ring, I'll take it to Mordor kind of a thing, I'll defeat Muzan. It's like, whoa, hold on now. Let's start with something manageable here.
There are 9 Hashira though. That's just something funny to bring up.
So it's one of those things where now it kind of has that like specific, concrete like goal sort of. Not just of what needs to be done, but sort of how it's going to be done.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we kind of knew that before now, but it was never like said out loud. Like
which part?
The idea of, all right, well, we gotta beat Muzan. Like that's what this is going to turn into. Like,
well, yeah. If anything, it felt like Muzan would be the final piece of the research if they could get his blood.
Right, because if you could get Muzan, you could probably
that would be enough.
No research subject could be better than Muzan, assuming that you managed to be able to turn Muzan into a research subject, which would probably be pretty difficult.
Right, like how would you get Muzan's blood successful?
Right, like like if you
even handle Muzan's blood physically without it?
The only thing better than getting Muzan's blood to research it would be getting Muzan somehow captured and then researching him. But like if you couldn't figure it out with him, you would have no chance basically of ever figuring it out, probably.
The Hashira are now ready to basically be sent out.
Yep.
They had a bit of a unique discussion based on their caricatures that they each kind of operate on right now. The one who kind of made the most curious remark, though, was Gyome, the stone Hashira. He basically made a little bit of a comment on how cruel it is to ask others to do what they need to do.
Oh.
And what I found to be kind of, interesting, and each one has their own kind of repetitive thing that they're sticking with thus far.
Flamboyantness, for instance.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But with Gyome's, his seems to be about, in some ways, praying for the pain of those around them to be something that they will be able to survive or get through.
Yeah.
And basically that they will outlast it like a stone. There's something that will just, the rivers of time and chaos will go past you, but you like a stone will just maybe be tossed aside, but still, solid.
The mountain still stands, yeah.
Exactly. It gets whittled away, but it still stands, yeah. The idea, though, that resolve, that necessary, that strength that would be required upon more people to end this kind of a conflict is something that they will bear. I like that they are not then as replaceable as the 12 Kizuki. That is something that was brought up a little bit, is that Muzan can just, make more.
Right.
And in some ways that might be the next time we see Muzan, what is on his mind? He's like, Rui's dead. Well, I guess I gotta go make another one. Or I gotta figure out how to make that whole thing happen. He's like, that's gonna take another 30 years. Thanks a lot,
I wonder if that would actually be a good way to track Muzan. Is basically say, he's gonna have to make another one. Watch out for any reports of like a specific explosion of demon activity that's more than usual.
Well, in some ways, I have to assume that that's what Nezuko was. Nezuko was one that would have been groomed into something stronger. That's why she has all these extra properties about her, being particularly special. Maybe.
Right, even though she's not feeding, the fact that she's able to do this well is pretty impressive.
Yeah, maybe it's something where she would have been eventually someone that would have been a stronger demon.
Yeah.
Even though she is kind of already a stronger demon just as she is. But she hasn't eaten any people, so that growth has probably been stunted a little bit in its demonic potential.
Right.
So yeah. I am curious when they'll bring things into a more direct conflict aspect with Muzan, and I feel like the Hashira are basically just going to be the vehicles upon which that will happen, which means that all of them can be on the chopping block.
Yes,
literally all of them.
Yeah, because it was like you're the best set of Hashiras since the beginning,
the
right?
Feudal period.
Yeah, the first breathing
swordsman.
It's like okay,
all right,
yeah. So if any of them die, that's that. That will not be good. That will really, then really not be good.
Well, right, but then saying the things that Gyome said would be basically asked. They would be asked upon basically Tanjiro and Nezuko and Inosuke and Zenitsu is please bear the burden of the resolve and drive necessary in order to see this to the end, because we can fail.
What if eventually, after a bunch of the Hashiras end up getting killed, Tanjiro needs to become a Hashira, right?
Well, he needs to train then.
And definitely train and all that stuff. But what if it got to the point where Nezuko became a Hashira?
I mean, that would be pretty awesome.
That would be pretty awesome. Like having a demon slayer at the top of the ranks, like that would be pretty cool.
It would be something where I think it would fulfill kind of the picture of where the show is eventually going to go, is that demons and demon slayers are both people. They both become monsters in different ways.
Yep.
But they're both still people. They're both still representations of humanity at just different ends of a spectrum.
Yep.
So, y'all, Thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get on early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there. And all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us and the community there about this show, about anime in general. And you can talk with Jacob about the sci-fi novel that he wrote.
Yep, because, you've never heard about it before. Battle Lines. It's on Amazon. It's awesome. It's my sci-fi novel. Link in the description. Go check it out.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.